the Icon Award for Enduring Artistic Contribution, sponsored by Tauranga City Council. The recipient of the award tonight, Mr. Darcy Nicholas. Darcy the Maikarangi, Ka Te Haua, Kia Te Awa Nūtonu.
I ngā mana, i ngā whenua, i ngā tangata o te motu, tēnā koe. I'm very humbled by this, to be honest. And I'd like to acknowledge all the artists who came before me. Many years ago, I was the youngest of the group in the 1960s to be part of the contemporary Māori art movement. And we talked about things and argued about things, and I was often told off because I was the boy amongst them. And most of those people have gone now, including a lot of the Tohus who became my very close friends. And I was interested in what was happening, and I need to acknowledge Kara Puketapu, who passed away recently, and he was one of my major mentors. My background was that my grandfather, William, or Willie Nicholas, he had 2 wives and 23 children, and my dad was number 8 in that line, and he married my mum, and we had, my mother had 12 children, and I was number 11, but they whāngai another 5 before that. So there's very few of us left, but because I was number 11, I spent all the time with my mother and the woman of our Marae Makuia. And one of the first things I remember saying to my mates is, look, no such thing as a Māori God. And I remember John Tohu saying, what are you talking about? I said, there's the sun and the moon and the wind and the rain. I said, and we are the physical and spiritual side of ourselves. And I said, where'd you learn that from? I said, from my old people. And I said, and they learned it from their old people as well. And I said, because when we were kids, we didn't have electricity. We only had stories. And the stories were told by the old people. And I said, I was a quiet kid there who listened to it. And I realised that all my way of retaining knowledge was through images. And I became aware that our visual art became our language. It became my language. I wanted to be an artist, and I was told I couldn't be because there was no such job, so I joined the New Zealand Police instead. And I learnt sort of all about the laws of evidence and things like that. And when I graduated, I did the 18-month cadet course. This fella called the same train as me and always sit by himself. And at one stage, he looked at me and he goes like this. And he said, sit here. So I sat beside him, and we got to know each other. And he said, what's your name, boy? And I said, I'm Darcy Nicholas. And I said, oh, what's your name? And he said, I'm Walter. You see, so we used to share the train for about 3 weeks, and then one day, one of the other police cadets saw me sitting with Walter, and he called out to me and pulled me away. He said, do you know who that man is? I said, that's Walter. He said, he's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. My naive little world, I had no idea what a Prime Minister was. And following all of that, I've known successive Prime Ministers since Walter, and a lot of them are amused with that, so whenever I needed stuff done for our people, they'd see me trek into Parliament and make sure I spoke to the Minister, and we had a great time. So at one stage, Kara Puketapu approached me and I said, I want you to apply for this job. And I said, what is it? He said, I want you to work with Wira to turn around and review the Department of Māori Affairs. So I said, but I don't speak Te Reo. And he said, but I know that you're going to know what to do. So I ended up as Wira Gardner's deputy in Iwi Transition Agency, and I was handed the 14 tribes from the west coast right up to Taranaki. And I looked at it and people said, hey boy, you've got a tough job there. And I said, why? And they said, well, we've only got 1 or 2. And I said to Curry, you've given me a tough job. And he says, I know that you know what to do. So I sat down and I looked at it and I identified all the tohunga for those tribes, and I consulted them and asked them to select the top 4 tohunga. So I employed those, and John Tohu, Luka Broadman, Matthew Marae Kura, and Wirangi Waikere Kuru to be my advisors, and in the process we swapped ideas and we sort of developed things, and I've been challenged a lot by a lot of our older artists, and when we had a big meeting of Māori artists, and one of the kuia came to me and said, "Who owns this painting?" I said, "Oh, I do." And she said, "Those are not Māori colours." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Those colours there, they're not Māori colours." I said, and it's out loud in front of everyone, and everyone waiting for me to answer her, and I said, "Kui, have you ever looked at the rising sun?" And she says, "No, what's that about?" I said, "Well, isn't there one of our tupuna?" "Yes." "So have you never seen a sunrise?" "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Have you never seen a sunset?" I said, "Because those are the colours of the sunrise and sunset." You know, and one of our mates, one of our master colours, who you know, he challenged me another time, and he said, "Who's this arrogant bugger here?" And I was the youngest of the group, and he looked at me and he said, "How dare you start this bloody movement? Who the hell do you think you are?" And I said, "Well, Paki, you know." If you think I'm arrogant, then I must be. Because what is more arrogant than the man who goes into the forest of Tane and cuts down one of his eldest sons and carves it in his own image? And Paki looks at me and he bursts out laughing and gave me a big hug. And from then on, he was my good friend. And I loved him, you know, and a lot of our old carvers and that I got to know. So creativity is one of the great things that we must use to move our people forward. It's creative thinking, it's creative art. That's what inspires us to come together and to go into the future. And it is part of a universal form of communicating right across the world. And that's what we need to do, because at some stage, because of modern technology, this world will be united much closer than our ancestors ever thought. But we must remain our uniqueness of caring for our people, caring for this world, caring for the things of the sky. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou.